Jamie Dornan broke down in tears as he spoke for the first time about his stressful marriage. For the first time, in a room so quiet you could hear your own breathing, Jamie Dornan was no longer the familiar man on screen with his cold gaze and calm, controlled demeanor. No longer the image of a Hollywood icon, nor the man who always knew how to evade private questions with a polite smile. That day, he sat there, very genuinely, with red eyes and hands clasped tightly together, as if trying to hold on to something about to shatter. "I never thought I'd say this," he began, his voice low and hoarse, "but perhaps it's time." 1. The dazzling lights and the darkness behind them. For years, Jamie Dornan had been portrayed by the media as the epitome of a man who had it all: a solid career, global fame, a private and supposedly fulfilling family life. He rarely appeared at events with his wife, and even less so shared details about their married life. That silence was once considered a wise choice, a way to protect his family from the media storm. But silence doesn't equate to peace. Few knew that behind the constant flights, the months-long film promotions, the emotionally demanding roles, lay a man slowly becoming exhausted. Not because of work, but because of the feeling of never being enough presence, enough listening, enough being a husband, a father, and himself. "The pressure doesn't come from any specific moment," Jamie said, his eyes wandering, "but accumulates. Day after day." 2. A marriage without a script. Jamie once believed that genuine love would naturally bring everything to fruition. He didn't think much about roles, boundaries, or unspoken agreements in marriage. When he was young, he entered married life with a very human naivety, thinking that as long as there was enough love, everything would be fine. But marriage has no script. It's not pre-arranged like a movie. There's no director shouting cut when things get overwhelming. It's a repetitive cycle of choices, sacrifices, and sometimes misunderstandings. "There are times when I walk into the house after weeks apart, and I don't know where to begin," he admits. "I am there, but I am not really there." The greatest pressure doesn't come from arguments. It comes from silence. Long periods of silence, when both are tired, both think the other understands, but in reality, they don't. 3. Fame, a double-edged sword. Fame gave Jamie a lot, but it also took away immeasurable things from him. Privacy was the first thing to disappear. Then came time. Then came the feeling of security in being yourself. "You start to doubt everyone around you," he said. "You don't know who loves you for who you really are, who loves the image they have of you." In marriage, that doubt is even more dangerous. Jamie admitted that there were times he brought the outside world's defenses home, a silent but cruel mistake. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he said, his voice breaking. "But I didn't know how to let go of my role when I walked through the door." 4. The breakthrough moment. That interview wasn't planned to be a confession. Initially, everything went normally. Familiar questions, cautious answers. Until the interviewer, perhaps unintentionally, perhaps very subtly, asked him a simple question. "Are you happy?" Jamie fell silent. The silence lasted a few seconds, but felt like minutes. Then he bowed his head. His shoulders trembled slightly, as if he were trying to hold back a surge of emotion. "There are days when I think I'm happy," he said, "and there are days when I don't know what I'm living for." That's when the tears fell. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just 2 silent tears, but enough to make the room hold its breath. 5. The pressure of being strong. Jamie admitted that a large part of the pressure came from himself, from the belief that he had to be the pillar, to be strong, to be in control of everything. He rarely allowed himself to be weak, and even less so to share that vulnerability with his partner. "I thought I was protecting my family by being silent," he said. "But actually, I was building a wall. That wall didn't appear immediately. It was built on delaying difficult conversations, choosing silence over explanation, and telling yourself, I can talk about it tomorrow." But tomorrow sometimes doesn't come. 6. When love is no longer enough. One of the statements that silenced many in the room was when Jamie said, "Love isn't enough. Love without knowing how to stay, without knowing how to listen, can still hurt each other." It wasn't a reproach to anyone. It was a self-reflection. He admitted that there were times he thought that simply providing enough material things and security was sufficient to fulfill his role as a husband. But marriage requires more than that. It needs emotional presence, patience, and sometimes the courage to admit mistakes. Point 7. Long and automatic problems. Jamie recounts sleepless nights, lying beside the woman he loves but feeling a distance between them longer than any transcontinental flight. He thinks about the choices that led him here, the roles, the contracts, the promises to himself and his family. "I wonder if I could have done things differently," he says. And the most painful answer is, maybe yes. The regret is quiet but heavy. It's not loud but it clings. 8. Allowing himself to be vulnerable for the first time. Jamie's breakup wasn't just a release of emotion. It was a sign of a shower, the first time he allowed himself to be the strong man he appeared to be in public. "I'm tired," he says, very softly. "And I don't want to pretend anymore." In that apartment, no one could find a layer of stillness. They found someone trying to be honest, with himself and with the people he loved. 9. Marriage as an ongoing act. Jamie couldn't call his marriage a failure. He called it a learning process slowing down. He acknowledged there were cracks, but also efforts to mend them. "We're still learning," he said. "Learning to say the hard things. Learning not to run when things get heavy. There's no perfect promise. No end. Only a connection that continues the dialogue, something he had previously avoided." 10. What comes after the tears? The conversation ended in a very long silence. Jamie got up, took a deep breath, as if he had just shifted to a heavy image. He didn't apologize for accessing it, nor did he try to justify himself. "I'm not saying this to be hurt," he said, "because I think many people are in a stressful marriage like mine, and they think they're the only ones who feel that way." Jamie Dornan's tears today weren't a sign of weakness. They were a sign of a necessary, albeit delayed, action. And perhaps it was in those moments of problem solving that he began a new chapter, not just in his marriage, but in his own self-reflection.